So with Invincible Season 2 coming out this year, writers, actors, VFX artists, reality stars, and pretty much Hollywood out for the moment, seems only fit they give a treat of Invincible. We normally see a trailer or a small scene, but we get an entire episode. Okay, sure. Let's go with it. This episode focuses more on Atom Eve and growing up with her. Atom Eve, aka Samantha Eve Wilkins, is co-star to Invincible and plays the bridge for Mark, the civilian, and Invincible, the hero. She's also the emotional support, since she knows what's going on, unlike other people. Sam has always been an interesting character, enough that I will sometimes get YouTube shorts that give the major spoilers away. Man, I need to read the rest of Compendium. So Atom Eve, for me, has always been a fascinating character. From the first season breakup to her running away from home, I was interested in where they were going with her. I will have to wait a bit for that, but this prequel is a nice treat. We start out at Samantha's birth, literally, or just before she was born when the lizard people attacked. The two villains I'm sure are based off Morgan Le Fay and that kid from Justice League. You get a quick reminder that this is Invincible adjacent and pre-main story, with cameos, old young faces, and some new ones. While Omni-Man, War Woman, Aquarius, and the Immortal look the same, they do have some fun here. You see Black Samson in a younger costume before his powers went. He also apparently had relations with the Lizard Woman. So, from Scaly. I do applaud Invincible for trying to world build at what opportunity they get. They do let you know where the missing characters are, letting you know there are other threats that need to be dealt with. After Omni-Man shows up and helps the Guardians out, that is where the fan service stops. For now. Here is where we get new characters, Dr. Elias Brandyworth and Polly. Brandyworth is a scientist and essentially Atom Eve's creator. Polly is Eve's mother, as shown with the bright pink light coming from her.
We can see that.
If you're wondering, wait, but her parents are... You learn that they escaped from the facility to a hospital where Polly gives birth to Eve, but not without dying. Brandyworth in haste switches Eve with a child who did die, whose parents you recognize as Eve's parents. Steve Erickson is the bad guy here. He gets to the hospital and takes Brandyworth and looks for Eve. Doesn't find her. Brandyworth's lies worked and saves Eve. From here, you get a montage of her growing up weird. Her parents are, for some reason, they look scared or angry that she is acting weird. I could maybe understand if she was making noise, breaking stuff, getting into fights, but she isn't. She's just drawing circles and staring. They do at least recognize that she is smart and puts her in a special school. She eventually befriends a girl named Val over their weirdness, where they talk about wanting adventure in the great wide somewhere. You also see the tension you saw when she ran away from home, where her parents are worried about her future. Not liking that she is failing in some subjects, she goes to her room to sulk after another disparaging remark about how she acts. Where, surprise, superpowers! After turning her book to glass and back again, she tries with food she got, which, Mom, what is that sandwich? She shows Val where she freaks out after teasing her. This is where her teen angst starts to take over, them not being friends anymore, Sam getting kicked out of the special school, and her and Val just stop hanging out. You do see her still use her powers, but was acting far less outgoing. They do have small montages to transition between scenes. They do also have a B-plot, showing that Erickson guy from earlier is still trying to replicate Eve with other children, although not very well since they are trying to hold themselves together, literally. But we'll talk about him later in a few. Eve is messing around with her powers in her room, and as all teenagers do, sneaks out and, not a montage, but a music video showing her flying around for the first time, and showing her different levels of mobility. From jumping around on Eve-made structures, to Iron Man propulsion flying. I do appreciate the Static Shock lid flying. Good call. After spotting a crime, stopping the crime, and a homeless Brandyworth showing up, they start to talk. Brandyworth lets her know her limitations on her powers, why she couldn't transform that squirrel or make a puppy. Brandyworth lets her know the military is after her, and he's only coming forward now since her powers are starting to manifest. They depart, but not before a plot convenience shows up to push us forward. Eve wants more answers from Brandyworth and goes to a homeless shelter to find him and sees another crime happening, and a few things are happening here. 1. Kill Cannon cameo, but this one serves a narrative purpose. 2. That narrative purpose is to the parallels to Mark's journey. Kill Cannon was also Mark's first superpowered villain in new costume. 3. New costume and new name. 4. Got Brandyworth to come out of hiding so they could talk. And 5. let you know he cares about her to know her birthday. They go to a diner to talk that I feel like I've seen somewhere before. Eve starts to learn about her mother and how she was conceived, the part on the superpowers, not the dirty stuff. He talks about the whole bunch wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. I do like they leave out some details, like her being homeless, so Eve could put her more on a pedestal. Brandy Worth talks about getting more emotionally attached to her, what she wanted for her. But then the plot is happening and those Erickson experiments are running around playing in traffic on the highway. Eve shows up and more exposition is dumped on her. The guy, phase 2, explaining who he is and why he's there, that they are phases 2 through 5, he's the most developed being the oldest, and the only one that can talk. This is her extended family. They start fighting, and it is fantastic. Using all her techniques that she's been using throughout the episode and over the years, from using the different mobilities to affecting the environment, she even starts to pull off some Green Lantern shit. Making things out of thin air to either help her or the people around her, even taking objects completely out of the equation. You can also follow the fight dynamic really well. You know how much she is winning with the phases dying like a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2... And when not fighting, you learn about their angst, how they are told they suck, and how perfect she is. The phases can alter themselves while battling Eve. She couldn't. Brandy Worth saves Eve, but ends up needing saving himself. He was apparently a big part of why Eve turned out fine, applying some ethics, keeping his promises to Polly to give her a life outside the lab. Phase 2 eventually dies, falling apart, metaphorically and literally. Then Erickson pops up, taking a half-beaten Eve and Brandy Worth back to the lab. They both start bargaining to stay if the other can go, but Erickson wants them both. With no other option, they pull the trump card, threatening and revealing Polly to be alive. Brain dead, barely alive, just a womb of particles. Brandy Worth snaps and attacks Erickson where Brandy Worth and Polly get shot. Eve and all her teen angst and losing her siblings, mother and creator, using that pain of loss, goes and affects living things, even memories. Going home, she sees her other parents didn't forget her birthday, and all his assholery says the exact wrong thing to say. Thanks, Adam. And as a final memorial to them, photoshops a family photo to extend the family. So, thoughts? This was a good appetizer of what's to come. They did up the animation. I didn't see one CGI person running around awkwardly. Voice acting was great. Jaslyn Lone debut is a fantastic one. Unfortunately, the voice actor for Erickson, Lance Riddick, died earlier this year. He was good at making me hate his character in this episode. I will miss him in John Wick. Hopefully they have more of him in season 2 and got his lines in. Animation was not spectacular, except where it mattered, the action and the emotional scenes. As for the progression of the story, I didn't feel like they were dragging the story at all. Every scene feels like it had a purpose. It wasn't just fluff. As for the overall narrative, I feel like there's 2 of them. The first is political and shows where I lean. This episode, I feel, had an anti-Republican undertone, specifically when it comes to women and children. They don't outright state anything political on the surface, but context matters. I mean, the story is about a woman giving birth to a super weapon, stalking a teenage girl, the kids only being used as weapons, and only being taught to fight and nothing else. And to top it all off, keeping a brain-dead woman alive solely for the reason to give birth over and over again. A literal baby factory. But that is just one opinion, and only one narrative. The second narrative is a good end to this video. I think this is a good girl empowering episode. Nope, get out of here. The fight on the highway told me these writers and animators know what they are doing, but we'll get there. When it comes to women superheroes, it's not very good, and at best, hilarious. For an idea of what I'm talking about, we'll take a look at the movie that tells us everything wrong with women superheroes in media. The Mulan reboot in 2020. That movie, Mulan, just naturally has her powers. Everyone is weirded out by her having chi and being good at basically everything. Goes to an army camp to train, even though she's pretty much the best there is already. She treats most men in her regiment as stupid. After taking out the Huns, she takes off her armor because it's holding her back or something. She reveals the truth to the guys and stand with her. They do the whole I am Spartacus thing, go to fight, have a little choreography that kills the villain with chi and symbolism, all while having that fucking stoic face that can't afford to show more than one emotion. Okay, rant over. So let's see what Adam Eve did that actually made it work, where Mulan failed. While born with powers, didn't manifest till puberty. Till then, she could only observe and try to figure out her way in the world, like all kids. Except she has to figure out the stuff that they can't see. In the meantime, before the powers start to come in, she's not very good at school or socializing with kids, showing that she's not good at everything, giving some kind of vulnerability. After the powers show up, We see her limits, what she can do, what she can't do. You see when she is alone for a few years, she still uses her powers, not only for making things easier, but to learn better control. Brandy Worth warning her not to use her powers, follow his advice, and sets in motion to the fight on the highway and the deaths of the Phases, Brandy Worth, and Polly. And throughout all this, she does try to show kindness to people, but is pushed away, tries to be outgoing, people tell her to conform. Going through all of this, not being able to talk to anyone about this. Also, I do love the progression of the costume and powers. Nice little throwback to the 2000 Spider-Man. Starts with a hoodie, then ends up in the final one, even at the end where it's all torn. They did avoid the obvious problems with superheroes and skirts, where it might be like this. But yeah, she grows. You see her progress. You see her fight. Get damaged. Get knocked down. Get up again. Because you're never going to keep her down. In short, they make her a person. They don't make an idealized version of the character. They show the struggles, the triumphs, but at cost. They don't try to frame her doing something dumb as the correct choice. No one likes you. Get out. Also, she does more than one facial expression. But yeah, while we wait for season 2, first half, this is a good appetizer of what's to come. And who knows, maybe we'll get another meme out of this.